Hey everyone, this is Fabio and welcome back to a new video. And first and foremost, I have to keep my window open because it can get really hot. Since summer, it's going completely crazy here in London these past days. So I need my window open, so hopefully it will not be too noisy, i.e. like motorcycles, sirens. Let's hope they'll just stay away from like half an hour or something like that. Alright, so this is going to be a good old video response to davidvinc, a really cool and big channel, of course, that I've been subscribed for a while. And one of these last videos I found it really fascinating, as he was talking about his 7 deadly sins of RPGs, or 7 issues, or at least 7 things that are maybe common or not, but 7 issues that we have with when we play RPGs. 7 elements that we don't like in our RPGs. Find it very funny, and therefore decided to do a video response. And to be honest, maybe in my opinion, to call them deadly sins, it's a bit extreme, a bit excessive, because none of these 7 elements are going to be deal breakers with me when I play an RPG. Like if one of these 7 things happen, it's like, oh fuck this, I'm not going to play this anymore, because basically I would not going to play any RPG, because these are very prominent in one way or the other. So it's mainly like 7 issues that I have with RPGs. And to be honest, again, one of these is more of a nitpicking, but it's something that I noticed. It's like, oh, why can't I have the option? So with that, let's just start it. The first, let's use his language, the Japanese language. So the first deadly sin for me in RPG, it's the progressively like the more relevance given to cooking. So cooking mechanics in RPGs, I don't like it, and especially I would say, to be more correct, I don't care. Um, the thing that perplexes me about cooking in RPGs is the fact that it's becoming more and more prevalent, more and more, I don't want to say important, but kind of, sort of. Even my current favorite series, The Legend of Heroes, in the Trail series, cooking is a big part of this game if you want to. I mean, I don't give a crap about it, so I spend like the minimum amount of time. Like, if I found recipes, cool, but I don't spend hours looking for them. And in a way, you're kind of not, you don't have to, but you're encouraged to do it. Because obviously, like, if you complete your recipe book, you're gonna get like a very cool item or something like that. I was like, I don't care. I don't have time to waste on that. But as I said, it's becoming more and more prevalent. And I think the most extreme example I can offer, which really perplexes me, was with Odin's Sphere or Lake Thrasir that I play on the Vita. Cooking, and also as a consequence, like finding recipes and stuff like that, eating was the best way to get experience in that game. Not even fighting enemies was gave you the most experience points. Eating did. And I was like, wow, we come a long way. Since when cooking is such an important thing? And it's something that I don't care absolutely in my games. It's a minor thing. It's nothing compulsory or mandatory. But again, I'm astonished by how big and important it's become in the last 5 to 10 years or something like that. My second deadly sin, and spoiler for David's video, but this was in his as well, but I couldn't agree more with him, and it's AI control party members. I mean, fuck that. I've been lucky so far that I haven't experienced this on the bad way. Such a famous example is Persona 3 on the PlayStation 2. I mean, no sir, no doctor. I don't want to experience that. Because the only examples I can think of that I can remember are this like issue, but doing well, doing right. So like in the Tales of series or in the Star Ocean series. So you can easily, I mean, party members are controlled by the AI, and you can For example, to avoid them to waste MPs, you can just like turn on or off skills. And for example, this was very useful since I'm currently playing in the background like a Tales game, an old school Tales game especially. So it could be very important to keep an eye on their usage of spells and stuff like that. But yeah, it's something that, especially nowadays, and even like up until say the PlayStation 1 days, I couldn't like I don't see why it needed to be done. I mean, even less during the PlayStation 2 era. I mean, with Persona 3, I mean, there was no excuse for something like that. So definitely, like AI controlled party members are not for me. Number three, this is something more related to stories rather than gameplay mechanics in RPGs, but it's something that whenever it happens, it drives me crazy for a reason, because it's also common, actually quite common in anime, and it's what I call the stupid betrayals. What I mean by that, stupid betrayals, basically, you have a NPC usually, or like someone who's external to your party, and they recently experienced the loss of a loved one. Might be a family member or a lover, a husband, whatever. At one point or another, the obvious bad guy is gonna show up to their door and say, if you're doing this for me, usually meaning stealing something from the party or betraying our party, I promise that I'm going to resurrect your loved one. I'm going to resurrect the person who just passed. I promise you, you know, like I can imagine, like I promise you, yeah, Scout's honor. And obviously the fools, of course I'm gonna do it because I trust you completely, even though you're obviously the bad guy. And when the betrayal happens, there's always the betrayal within the betrayal, meaning the bad guys always then, ha ha, I'm not going to fulfill my promise, you idiot. And the fool, like, but you promised. How could you do this to me? Whenever this thing happens, it drives me crazy because it's so obvious when it happens. It's so telephone. So look at it, it's coming, it drives me crazy. And it's something that whenever it happens, as I said, like whenever it happens, it's absolutely, I cannot believe they're still using that trope. It's such a cliche. But of course, like we know that stories and RPGs and all that is built upon cliche, so I don't mind that. But for some reason, it really it clicks a nerve with me, and I cannot let it pass. And I couldn't believe like Octopath Traveler did it. This is like a really recent game in Ophelia's story that happened. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my god, you're doing that. Because as I said, because it's so predictable. Yeah, the whole arc, it's really like a bit like loss, betrayal between betrayal. And because a reason why I hate this thing, it's to me in storytelling, death, it's permanent, and no matter what. I mean, there might be exceptions here and there, but when you show like someone is dying of illness or like a proper death on screen, that's permanent. There's no way there's going to be a return from that. I said there might be exceptions, but I cannot think of any. Um, so every time it happens, it's like, oh, here it comes. So the stupid betrayal, it's something that it drives me crazy. The next one, my 4th deadly sin. This is the most nitpick of the bunch. It's really something minor, but I will like the option, and it's unchangeable language. Again, very minor thing to be honest. Most of the games, and this concerns when RPGs have voice acting. I would like the option of having the original Japanese voice acting, not just the English one. And this is really rare, to be honest. And also vice versa. Like I remember with Tales of Hearts R, that the entire game is voiced in Japanese, with subtitles, that's perfect. I don't mind it. It's like, why not having a voice, in English voice acting? Obviously, I suppose it was done for cut costs, or Namco probably didn't care about that. But if you go for all the effort in case of like properly dubbed games, just leave the options of changing languages. I think a game that did it perfectly for me, the classic example, it's for like, it did a bad thing and did a good thing, was Odin Sphere Lethrasir. You can change the language in English and Japanese, listen to which one you prefer the most. In this case, interesting enough, I prefer the English voice acting rather than the Japanese. And yeah, but I was like, this is how you do it. Um, I would love this option in games such as the Trail series or like Persona 4. I mean, I would love to hear that game in Japanese. Because the voice acting in Persona 4 is sometimes really good, sometimes a bit wonky, to be honest, but I have no problem with that. Would be interesting. I didn't check Fire Emblem Echoes, since that game is an amazing English dub. It's with one exception, the character of Zeke. His voice acting is weird, but all the other characters I thought it was excellent. But I would like the option to hear in the original voices. But as I said, this is a really minor thing. It's just like, it would be nice to have the option. Never mind. Fifth, Deadly Sin. Again, this is in David's video, but couldn't agree more. And that is item crafting, such as alchemy and stuff like that. Just like with the cooking mechanics, it's simply matter like, I don't want to waste time with this. I don't want to waste time looking for the ingredients and all of that nonsense. Again, because usually if you do that, you're encouraged to do it because you can get like better equipment or like the most powerful weapons in the universe. I don't care. It's really a matter like, it's something that it doesn't have any appeal to me. I remember like in Dragon Quest, it's like from 8 and 9, alchemy's there. I never touched it, never used it, for example. So it's definitely a mechanic that if it was to disappear from my RPGs, I wouldn't miss it at all. 6th Deadly Sin, and and that it's overly complex dungeons. I love my dungeons. They are a staple in RPGs, of course, but sometimes developer, they just go too far, and I'm looking at both of you actually, Mimana and Phantasy Star 2, also Phantasy Star 1. My God, because there are some cases of like challenging dungeons, but in a different way. For example, thinking of the early Dragon Quest games, I think maybe just Dragon Quest 1, Ease 1, when you don't see your surrounding, like you just have the characters in a small like circle of light surrounding it, so it's really confusing. But I don't mind that. On the other hand, weird. But it's just this like huge dungeons that it's very easy to get lost. And as I said, like Mimana on the PSP, sometimes some of those dungeons were just ridiculous. Because usually these overly complex dungeons also, they go hand in hand with having like random encounters every 2 seconds, like Phantasy Star 2 and also 1, but the first 2 Phantasy Star were horrible in that, but 2, it's by far worse, I think. Phantasy Star 1 has like the first person dungeon crawler mod basically, and you enter into these dungeons and you have to find your way in this like insane maze, especially by the end. It was ridiculous. I don't know how it made to finish that. Well, because you will get lost. There's no other way. There's no questions there. So you have to draw the map yourself, or nowadays look for like maps online. Kind of the same with Phantasy Star 2 in a way, but they're even more complicated. They have this weird overhead perspective. Like, still remember, even like the first dungeon in the game, Shure, I will remember that name till the day I die. Basically, it was a nightmare because it's really challenging, and it's the first one in the game. And once you enter, you have this overhead perspective with all the pipes in the way, so you don't see very well. Also, so what were they thinking? Then I remember like the what's it called, like the Uzo mountain. That was ridiculous. The Climatrol tower, or like the thing you have to go under the sea, and there's like, I don't know, 15 level. It's Phantasy Star 2. It's a nightmare. Luckily, Phantasy Star 4 did it right with its dungeons. But I had like visions of this when I play Mimana, when you have these huge dungeons and you have to fight every 2 seconds. Again, I powered through it, but it was really annoying. That's one thing I really don't like in RPGs. And the seventh deadly sin, so last one. And this is something that I despise in RPGs. Despise, maybe it's a bit too harsh, but it's something that I always notice and I never liked. And that is silent protagonists. Never liked it. Never. And as I said, like, it's something I noticed since I started to play video games. Like, even when I played The Legend of Zelda on the NES, which is an RPG or not, but other than that, that was my first encounter with a silent protagonist, and I was asking why isn't Link talking? Why? And especially once I start to get into proper JRPGs from the PlayStation 1 days, you like, for example, my favorite series, Breath of Fire. Most of the games, Ryu does not talk. The only exception is in Breath of Fire 5. But again, I was like, why aren't you talking, Ryu? You should talk, because I like my characters to express their feelings, their thoughts, their emotions through words. And usually it's just like, in Breath of Fire 4, for example, it's terrible. And you see Ryu just moving his mouth, like he's talking, but you don't say what he's saying. And then, that's a good idea, Ryu. No, we should not do that, or something like that. It's like, why do you have like speech bubbles or something? I don't know. But it's something that I never liked, absolutely never liked in RPGs. And I can understand why they did it. The idea that in a way it's more relatable, there's a major immersion into the game, so you are the hero. So it's like you are talking to them. It never worked for me. Absolutely never. Because my thing with video games, like, I don't care about myself in a game. I play games to experience those stories of those characters. I mean, that's for me. That's also a reason why I prefer JRPGs over Western RPGs, because Western RPGs, for the most part, are structured as choose your own adventure kind of games. So it's all focused on your stories, your interaction with the world, and I cannot do that properly. I don't see myself as that character. I don't see myself as exploring, say, the world of the Elder Scroll games or the world of Fallout. It just doesn't work with me that way. And as I say, it's something that I noticed already as a kid with NES games, or then especially with RPGs. So I always wanted my characters, my protagonists, to be talkative, like even verbose in a way. I mean, I don't mind that. Just talk. Exchange dialogues with your party members. So yeah, that's definitely a big deal to me. Weirdly enough, as I say, like, none of these 7 are like breaking experiences. Like, they're like, oh, this character is not talking, I'm not gonna play this game anymore. And as I said, like, Breath of Fire are my favorite games, and you got a silent protagonist. So all of these are issues that I don't like, or at least I notice, and they annoy me in RPGs. So definitely check David Vinc video. I'll leave a link in the description below so you can check it out if you haven't already. And most likely, let me know what are your 7 deadly sins in RPGs. 7 elements you despise, you don't like in our beloved RPGs. Because there's plenty of things that might hit a nerve, as I said earlier. Because it's a very subjective thing. Also, it's funny that way. So as I said, like comments, video response, whatever you like. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Take care.